Hey Moonlovers, welcome to another episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones. I'm back. So many apologies for disappearing for a little while, but in true Gemini season style, I have been hectic, chaotically busy, far too many things to remember in my schedule, and actually a couple of things have been cancelled in the past couple of weeks. And I've got to say, I've been a little bit grateful for that because it has been truly, truly busy for myself and for Tom. And yeah, the weather here in the UK in the past couple of weeks has been absolutely beautiful and absolutely boiling. So this weekend just gone, I did many things. One of those, we popped over to the Wild Retreat in Sawbridgeworth, which is local to here, about 40 minutes down the road. And as you know, if you follow this channel, you know that we've both done some retreats there recently. And Tom has been helping out with getting the campsite gardening done. So he's been strimming all around the bell tents and the yoga tent and down the pathways. And I've been helping to clear up all the mess that he makes. No difference there then. And but in 30 degrees of heat. And on Saturday, I had to leave him there and drive over to Herne Bay for my cousin's surprise 50th birthday meal. And when I got in my car at the retreat there, my car said 34.5 degrees inside. And my car is over 20 years old. I do not have aircon. So it's just windows open and, excuse me, a bit croaky from having had so much to do and talking. Yeah, I got in my car on the way back home from the surprise 50th birthday party, and one of the tunnels at the Dartford Tunnel was shut. So I was sitting in a big queue of traffic at 11 o'clock at night. And inside the tunnel where we were crawling through, it went back up to 30 degrees inside that tunnel. And I couldn't have my windows open because of all the fumes. So you can imagine the sweaty mess that I was in, but all for very good reasons because I got to see my family. And that is perfectly aligned with the astrology of now and where we are at in the year. So, June 21st, the sun moved into Cancer, summer solstice. I love this time of year, not only because it's the time of year that I was born on July the 7th in the height of the summer, but you know, honoring the sun when you can see it is so much easier. And there was a beautiful summer solstice sunrise ceremony at the Wild Retreat, which actually I'm, slightly embarrassed to say that I didn't have a very good sleep because of it being so hot, and the campsite is really busy, so it was a lot more noisy there than usual at night time with lots of very excited campers, and I didn't sleep too well, and I heard people getting up and about at 4 o'clock in the morning to go and greet the sun and to honor the sun. And the next thing I knew, I'd fallen asleep and I woke up at 7 o'clock. So I completely missed the ceremony. But I was bathed in the energy of it nonetheless. So, excuse me, my ring light is flashing a little bit at me. So, yes, the retreat, family celebrations, my birthday, my mum arrives on the 12th of July. So Cancerian to be with family, having cake basically. So, and what a cake it was. So, what have we had going on since I last was on here? So, we've had Jupiter move into the sign of Cancer on the 9th of June. And we shortly have tomorrow, which is said to be the luckiest day of this year, we will have the sun coming up to and across Jupiter. So what we call conjunct, or a Jupiter Cazimi. So a Cazimi is when the sun goes across a planet and the planet kind of disappears and comes out the other side, or reborn and new again. And what a lucky combination that is. The sun in Cancer just after the summer solstice, and Jupiter having just moved into the sign of Cancer where it is exalted. So where it at its fullest expression. So tomorrow, Tuesday, the 24th, is going to be what is said to be the luckiest day of the year. And literally on June the 9th, as Jupiter moved into the sign of Cancer, I picked up my phone, I went onto Instagram, and an opportunity presented itself to me. And it's an opportunity that could be massive. So I'm going to let you know more about that when I know more about it. But I am choosing tomorrow to pursue this opportunity. Why not use what I know? And that is using this lucky, abundant, fortunate, optimistic, bright and shiny energy. It's so citrine. Go and grab a piece of citrine tomorrow if you can get your hands on some. I have a beautiful citrine pendant, which I don't have on now, but I'm going to wear that tomorrow to really drum up and make the most of this super duper energy. And of course, as always, there are all the other planets are aligning around the zodiac as we speak in, not just beautiful harmonious alignments, but also some slightly more challenging ones. So as we go on, I will let you know a bit more about that. And also stay tuned, because as we have a new moon coming up on Wednesday, the 25th, I will be holding my usual new moon online ceremony. So that's on Zoom, and that is at 8 till 9:30 p.m. UK time. If you can't make it live because you live in a different time zone and that's just not convenient for you, then you can still sign up and I will send you the recording straight afterwards. And you have up to 3 days afterwards to really make the most of that new moon energy. And remember, we have this, from new moons are a time for writing down our wishes, setting our intention, starting again, new beginnings, sowing seeds, manifesting what we want into reality. So turning the dream, Neptune, into Saturn's solid foundations of reality, using this exalted Jupiter in Cancer energy. We have the sun and the moon and Jupiter together, all holding hands. So, a really, really good time to join in and honor this energy. And, together, when we set our intentions together, it's always a much stronger, more powerful way of doing it than when we sit on our own doing it. So, but just as effective. Anyway, so we have the sun conjunct the moon, so that's a new moon, and Jupiter in Cancer together on the 25th. We have a harmonious, supportive sextile going on whilst that is happening, with Mars being in Virgo. So, if you have been following me for a while, you would have known that, that Mars drifting through backwards and forwards through the sign of Cancer into Leo, back into Cancer, and then back into Leo for 6 months was a very difficult, challenging time for Cancerians, particularly, especially if you have Mars in Cancer in your chart, which I do. So I really could tell you all about that if you go back in some of my episodes to have a listen to what all that was about. But finally, Mars has moved into Virgo. And, Mars is action, and Virgo is all about getting organized and doing things, earthy, grounded, putting our health and well-being plans into action, being motivated to do that. So that's a very supportive sextile. So a sextile is like a 60-degree angle away from the new moon where Mars is in Virgo. So that's a nice thing we've got going on there. We also have this Sun, Moon, and Jupiter in Cancer in a square 90-degree angle to Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So these cardinal signs in a square to each other. So, sometimes that cardinal signs are initiators, the initiator of something, the leader, somebody who goes first. And, we've got this lovely benefic Jupiter energy going on. And then we've got that malefic Saturn energy going on. Excuse me, I am just like fiddling around here and fidgeting. Sorry. So, as you know, if you've been listening and paying attention, Saturn and Neptune are just about 1 degree apart from each other in the sign of Aries. That's very recent that they have moved. Saturn moved out of Pisces after 2.5 years. Neptune moved out of Pisces after 14 years. So this is still very new, but we are getting a real strong taste of what this means going forwards. And this is a square aspect to the Sun, Moon, and Jupiter in Cancer. So I will dive into that a little bit more in a moment. We've also got Mercury in Cancer. And I have Mercury in Cancer. So that's really good because it's made me feel like, come on, and, communicating with the world again. But Mercury in Cancer is in an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. So yeah, we'll have a look and see what that is all about. Also, Mars in Virgo is in a square aspect to Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is only going to be in Taurus for another, what are we on, the 23rd? So 2 weeks. We've got another 2 weeks of Uranus in Taurus. Uranus has been in Taurus for the past 7 years, creating sudden, radical, maverick, revolutionary change in all things Taurus: earth, food, money, pleasure. Uranus is radical change, and it is going to be moving into the sign of Gemini on the 7th of July, which is my birthday. And I know, because I know my chart. If you know your rising sign, you can get your chart done. You can just contact me, send me your chart details. I can have a look for you. If you want to dive into it further, we can do you a birth chart reading. And by the way, on the subject of birth chart readings, the last day of my offer of 22% off was yesterday on the 22nd of June. And a friend of mine contacted me saying that she wanted to get in for that last minute discount. And I said I would check to see what time it ended. And as it so happened, I hadn't put an end time on it. So that discount is still open. So if you're listening to this, I'm going to extend it until my birthday because I'm feeling very Jupiter, abundant and generous and happy right now. So take advantage of that I'm extending that 22% off a birth chart reading, which would normally be £77.77 because they're my lucky numbers. And I'm a master number 22. So I'm offering that Space Girl 22, all in capitals. I'll put the link to that in the show notes for you so you can take advantage of that. So what was I saying? Yes. So if you know your rising sign, you can have a look at your chart and you can see where everything is occurring. So I know that Uranus is going to be moving into Gemini, which would be my seventh house. And the seventh house is the house of relationships, partnerships. So that could include business partnerships. But it's one-to-one personal relationships, alliances, marriages, could also include enemies in there as well. But basically, Uranus is moving into that area of my life. So if you keep watching, we will see how that plays out. And my partner, Tom, he has the same rising sign as me. So not only is that in my house of relationships, it's also in his. So anything could happen. But, good things can happen. So if you watch some astrology podcasts out there, or you see the memes out on social media and all the little messages that come out, a lot of the time they are to gain, just like a newspaper, it's a headline. They want you to pick it up and read it. So there is a lot of emphasis always on the scary bits, on what to fear, on what to dread, of the terrible things that could happen. I like to use this Jupiter energy right now that we've got to look at the positive things that could happen. Because, if you are into personal growth and you're aware and you can join the dots of your life and look back, because that's what I'm really good at. Sagittarius rising, I'm very good at looking at the big picture of life and seeing how one thing has led to another. And if that hadn't happened, then this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have learned that. I wouldn't have known that. It wouldn't have changed me into the person that I am now. It wouldn't have enabled me to help others with the wisdom and the experience that I have. And you can have a look and track back in your life to see 12 years ago, where was Jupiter? Could you look back to see what happened 7 years ago when Uranus moved into the sign of Taurus? These are all things for us to, rather than dread and look at the worst that could happen, is to track back in our lifetimes or look back over the world and see the good things that came out of more challenging things or sudden shocking changes. Things that were expanded and exaggerated by Jupiter, things that were restrictive about Saturn, illusions and disillusionment that came from Neptune, about our dreams and where it led us to. So I'm hoping you get my point here, that on my screensaver that I open up my laptop, I have is a picture of me actually, and it was a meme that I put out once, and I keep it on my screensaver because it says it's not what you look at but what you see that matters. Yeah. So what window are you looking out of? Is it the window of dread and fear, or is it the window of what can I learn? What experience can I gain from this? What good things can come from this, even when dreadful things happen? And, I might sound like a bit of a Pollyanna. I've always had the ability to pull a good thing out of a bad thing, no matter what. So, even in the past few years, I'd give anything to still have my dad here. But I also know he would have hated these past few years. He wouldn't have dealt with all this, this increase in technology and being forced into using it. The way that the world has gone, he would see through the bullshit, but still, play the game and do what he's told and follow the rules, even if he didn't want to. there's been many times when I've thought, oh God, I'm so glad my dad's not here for this, even though I'd give anything to have him here. So, you know, um, the inheritance money that he left me, how would I have lived in the past few years without that? That is that eighth house plotline storyline of where my son is in my chart there. And knowing my chart, it's given me relief and forgiveness for myself over the subjects of money and inheritance and stuff like that, shared resources. Anyway, let's go back to where we are right now. So on the 21st of June, the energy shifted from the mutable mind energy of Gemini to the cardinal heart energy of Cancer. And I, for one, are really welcoming this shift from a hectic schedule of too many things to remember to dropping down into my heart space, bringing the focus back onto my self-love practices. So right now here in my cup, I have some rose and lavender tea, fresh from the roses and the lavender in my garden. I literally, before I recorded this podcast, I went out and snipped off all the roses that were going to drop, and I've got some amazing abundance of lavender out there. So that's all in this cup of self-love. I also have here, I can't really show you. I can't really show you that. Maybe I'll pick up the lid. So I've got this lovely prosperity candle by Young Wood and Scents. And I bought this. It's a prosperity spell candle. It's lemon, it's citrusy, it's got aventurine in it. And I bought that last weekend at the wonderful Green Oaks gathering over at Ely in Cambridgeshire, where it is flat as a pancake there in a field, always windy, but beautiful weather. So it was warm wind, not cold wind like last year. And lots of amazing stalls there. My lovely friend Nicola, who has a store called Threaderick, she sells amazing boho clothes. She was there. It was wonderful to be with her for the weekend, and lots of amazing things going on. So Tom and I we're known as Gong to the Moon. We do gong baths, sound healing, sound journeys. And we were on the main stage there. We had loads of people come in. A lady brought in her daughter, which was wonderful. And she was like, is it okay if she joins in? And I said, yeah, absolutely fine. Kids can often be a little bit fidgety and curious and, eyes open, wondering where the weird sounds are coming from. But as long as she doesn't bother anybody, that's fine. But she laid down at the front, head towards the gong, put her little sun hat over her face. And an hour later, we literally had to shake her awake. She was what we call gone. So yeah, amazing. Right, I'm just going to pause because I have got hay fever at the moment and I need to go and grab a tissue. So one sec. Okay, I'm back. Oh gosh, I absolutely love summer, but it does come with its things, doesn't it? So, pollen up the nose and, mosquito bites. So that's one of the things that kept me awake on Saturday night in our camper van. So I was reading my book. As soon as I turned the lights off, there it was by my ears. So the battle with the mosquito, and it got me on the hand here. So, but luckily, my friend Cheryl, who has got a company called Grow Kind, she makes her own colloidal silver and aloe vera gel. So that's been super helpful for the mozzie bites. Doing gardening, it's one of the downsides of this time of the year. This shift from a hectic schedule into self-love practices with Jupiter being exalted in Cancer, it can expand all things Cancerian. So Cancerians are known for being extraordinarily sensitive to others, empathy. So if you find that you're feeling stronger compassion and empathy and sensitivity right now, that person that, I'm an overgiver. So if you are prone to overgiving, then you will already know that you need to fill your own cup before you can give to others. But I would say use this Jupiter energy to overfill your own cup. Overfill it. Yeah. So that you can give an abundance to others without depleting your own energy. Because that's one of the, there's higher and lower expressions of all planets, of all signs, of all house areas, of all people, of everything has a down and an up, a higher and a lower expression. So when we're aware of these things, we can be mindful of how we are being. Cancerians need to feel emotionally safe and secure. So dropping down back into our hearts and out of our minds and dropping into those self-love practices again, upgrading them, overfilling our own cup, more roses, then that can bring that sense of inner security back to us. Strala Yoga always brings me back to that feeling of making a home inside of myself instead of needing that sense of security and safety from others. That deliberate stop, check in with yourself, notice how you feel, breathe, a sense of ease and calm. Get your yoga mat out, even if you just sit on it, and take some time to notice how you feel. Yeah. But yeah, overdo it. You can't overdo self-love. It's not selfish. It's self-care. So this new moon that we've got coming up, sun and moon meet together in soft, protective, in their shell, and nurturing and nourishing waters, the water sign of Cancer. This new moon is an opportunity to feel a sense of belonging, to feel a sense of home, emotional renewal. At the weekend, instead of maybe staying in my shell, which is something that I could have been tempted to do, I was with family. And that is a place where I feel safe and secure and loved and nurtured and supportive with my family. So it was worth that long journey in my sweaty car. The new moon is an invitation to return to our inner intuition, our truth, and begin again, a new sense of care, returning to softness. That's what Strala Yoga, soft is the new strong, soften, but really strongly back into our intuition, out of this busy mind Gemini stuff. But we have got Mercury in Cancer at the moment, so still got a bit of mind stuff going on. But when we get that sort of overworking mind, that monkey mind, just drop down into your heart space. Cancer is the fourth sign of the zodiac. It's the very first water sign in the zodiac. And the fourth house is associated with home and family, that Cancerian zone. Cancer is the place, it's associated with the mothering. So it's the cosmic womb, if you like, the place where we come out into the body. as a baby, into the body through the dark, powerful space of the womb. A new moon and the dark moon time is when the moon disappears. It's that time to go inwards. So tomorrow, go inwards and notice the opportunities. Use your intuition to notice the luck, the abundance, to feel grateful for all the good things in your life. That's a really good thing to do on this dark moon, new moon time. So yeah, what else can I tell you? Emotions. It's not a full moon, but it is a new moon in Cancer. Cancer is the sign of the emotions. So just remember that to be emotional is a strength, not a weakness. Our emotions help us to know what is real and true, which is why I say, go inwards, drop into your intuition, drop into your heart space, have some quiet time to notice. When the moon is here, she's speaking the language of intuition. So the new moon can amplify our feelings. So I'm really encouraging you to do a little bit of introspection. What do you need emotionally? What does your inner child need? What do you need to do to feel mothered? How can you mother yourself? How can you nurture your soul? Through things that bring you joy, things that, Jupiter is joy. Being in water, being near water, popping roses into your bath, go and be by a river, by the sea, by a lake, make some rose water. I've made loads of rose water. I can't keep making it. I haven't got enough people to give it to. Moon water, put some water out under the new moon. Drink the water, bless the water. Yep, use that water energy to give yourself self-love. So I'm wondering, Jupiter in Cancer, how have you all been feeling since Jupiter moved into Cancer on the 9th? Have any of you out there noticed that shift in energy? Like I told you, I've received an opportunity. Things have been abundantly busy. Good things are coming my way. The weather has certainly contributed to that here in the UK, that sense of optimism that Jupiter can bring. As a Cancer sun and also Mercury in Cancer, I've experienced an abundance of expansion in various ways. So, my astrology business has kicked off. So getting quick with that discount code, because, 1 minute I was thinking, is it ever going to happen? And then suddenly it's happening. And that has all happened since Jupiter moved into Cancer. So, it's not just our imagination. These are real tangible things that can happen. Mercury is associated with Gemini, the ruler of that. And it's associated with short trips. And I have had lots of short trips. All in all, I have been busy. So maybe you can look back to 12 years ago and see what happened when Jupiter was in the sign of Cancer. And remember, history can rhyme but not repeat. Yeah, it doesn't repeat itself, it just rhymes. And even if it was something challenging, what did you learn? How did you grow? What wouldn't have happened if that didn't happen? Look for the Jupiter positives in what happened 12 years ago. And then track the effects of Jupiter in the next year. You've got until June 30th next year to see how this plays out for you. Look at the house area that it falls in. For me, it was definitely a time of growth in my business. And again, I'm noticing that it's happening again for my business. And Jupiter is very related to my business because it's the philosophical, big picture, astrological sign. I'm a Sagittarius rising. Jupiter is a ruler of Sagittarius. We look at the big picture of things, and that it would be that cosmos out there. How did you grow? Jupiter is higher learning. It's all about the truth. What truths are you realizing? It's justice as well. Yep. As I said, all things in life can have a higher and lower expression of all the qualities that this transit can bring. And I can only give a general taste of things on this podcast. We all have a completely unique blueprint in our charts, yeah? So that will help us to see our story in the larger collective. And you can have a reading with me and we can take a look at that. So I've just done a really interesting reading with a lady who's 70 and she's on the path for justice. And it's in her chart that's her story, that's her purpose. And she feels reassured, and we can see an end to that coming as well, so that she can retire from this war path that she's been on for most of her life. What else can I tell you about? As I said, tomorrow, 24th of July, is deemed to be the luckiest day of the year. The Sun and Jupiter conjunct a Jupiter Cazimi. So that's when a planet disappears and reappears, and Jupiter will become the morning star. Jupiter Cazimis happen once a year when the Sun enters the sign that the planet of abundance is residing in, and this time it happens to be in its sign of exaltation. So exaltation signifies a planet's strongest and most positive placement within a sign. Yep. Its inherent qualities are expressed with more ease, they are amplified, they're louder, they're bigger, they're brighter, more effective. It's in a position of strength, and the potential for good things to happen is so much higher. So really embrace that tomorrow. I hope you are listening to that today. I'm going to get this out as quick as I can. It's the 23rd today, so, lastminute.com, but I'm here. And tomorrow I'm going to be recording a short podcast that might lead possibly to something big and exciting. Watch this space, and if not, I will be just as abundant as I have always been. I know I have a really strong aspect in my chart with Jupiter that is the luck of the gods. So, whatever happens, I always come out of things, shining. So I do know that about myself, that I am truly blessed, even though, just like everybody else, had many challenges. Sun square Saturn in Neptune, with the Sun, Moon in Jupiter, square Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Get it right. This is the potential for party pooper Saturn and nebulous Neptune to challenge this positive alignment, because they are forming a square in the fiery sign of Aries. But Saturn might help establish boundaries where Neptune has none. Yep. Watch out for heightened sensitivity, because this is an emotional moon. Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, can heighten our psychic sensitivity, heighten our intuition, but Pisces and Cancer energy is emotional. So it can bring that water energy up to the surface. But it's a time to renew. Yep, it's a new beginning. It's a time to set intentions. What would you like to manifest from this energy? Would you like to manifest and set stronger boundaries? What are your dreams? How can you bring them into reality? Use that Saturn and Neptune energy for good. Saturn can be restrictive, however. It can be the strict father. Cancerians can be moody. Saturn can be strict. Aries can be angry. So watch out for that. If that is happening, remember, sit down, check in with yourself, drop into your heart space. Can't be angry if you're here. Yeah. Slow down your breath. Notice how you feel. Take that moment to breathe in a sense of calm and ease. Make hard things easy. Use the higher learning of Jupiter to see from a wiser perspective, rather than, because Jupiter can be taking the moral high ground. Yep. So don't take the moral high ground. Saturn can be a little bit like that as well. So, strict morals, but rather a wiser, higher perspective, like a sage. Yep. So, with Mars there as well, remember, Mars in Virgo making that sextile harmonious aspect to this moon, bringing us down to earth, using that Virgo energy. It's in this alignment is helping to process emotions in a more effective way. Yep. So, the lowest expression we could have is being that moody and angry. Okay. On the 29th, Mercury is opposing Pluto. So this opposition is certainly going to exaggerate the 8th house subjects of shared resources in this household. So, as I said, this is showing up in the 8th house, this new moon. So if you know your rising sign, then you can see where this new moon energy is going to show up. For Tom and I, it will be 8th house shared resources subjects. I'm a Cancerian with Mercury in Cancer in my chart, and Tom is a fixed Aquarius. So we'll see how this opposition with Pluto involved, because Pluto can be to do with power struggles, bringing up stuff to be seen, bringing it up from, it's very related to those 8th house subjects of death, rebirth, transformation, inheritance, anything to do with money and other people. So we'll see how that plays out this week. So, maybe I'll just spend the whole week meditating. So I just wanted to grab my moon diary here and just read out to you, if I can find it, the page. Read out to you. So if you know your rising sign, I'm going to read out to you which house area this new moon in Cancer will be showing up for you. So if you're an Aries rising, so this is your rising sign, not your sun sign. If you're an Aries rising, 4th house of home and family. Taurus rising, 3rd house of communications, siblings, and your immediate environment, your neighborhood. Short trips, learning, short courses. Gemini, it would be your 2nd house of cash, property, possessions, material things. Cancer risings, it will be your 1st house of identity, of course, because it's your rising sign. So that's where the horizon was when the moment you were born, in your 1st house of identity, how you come across to others, using this new moon energy with that exalted Jupiter to expand your self-identity and how you are perceived by the world. Leo, 12th house of all things hidden, that deep psychological secret stuff, the mysteries, that no one ever sees, all that stuff. A time to renew that area, to, it's emotional, so it could be emotions that are hidden. Virgo, 11th house of social, friends, groups, other people, interactions. Libra, your 10th house of career, what you're known for in the world. Scorpio, your 9th house, foreign travel, the big picture of life, philosophy, far distant lands, religion, higher learning, justice, subjects like that. Sagittarius, 8th house of shared resources, death, rebirth, transformation, all subjects around that. Tax, inheritance. Ooh. Capricorn, the 7th house of partnerships, relationships, one-on-one relationships. Aquarius, 6th house, that's your daily routines, your habits, your health and wellness. And Pisces, finally, 5th house of joy, pleasure. Use that Jupiter energy to go out and have some fun, self-expression. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you because, in case you can't get to these moon ceremonies, that's a little bit more information for you. So an extraordinarily long podcast this time. I've been going for 46 minutes and I want to round it off by pulling one of my self-love cards for you. So these are Zoe Johansson's Return to Love Self-Love Oracle cards. In there, love is who you are. So let's just see what our final, wow, there we go. That didn't take long, did it? That was a definite message for us. And that is the message. Believe in Jupiter is to do with beliefs. Yep, Jupiter is to do with what we believe in. Believe your dreams are the voice of your soul. And let's see if we can quickly find that card for you and read out the extended message. But I think we get the point. Rather obvious. Okay. So, do you remember back when you were a child? Back when you were completely tuned in and tapped into your imagination? There existed no limitations, only possibilities. Do you know, I did some art journaling last night, and that is on my art journal. I'll share the photo on my social so you can see. The world and life itself were your playground, a big, exciting adventure, and you were mesmerized by its endless potential. You were early on told what you could not do, and at some point you stopped exploring and maybe stopped believing as much in the possibilities of life. Yet the voice of your soul kept whispering, kept asking you to play, to explore, and to follow the voice of your soul. So this oracle is asking you to get back to that childlike place of dreaming. Use that Neptune in Aries, the child. Yep, the leap of faith. Neptune is in Aries, the beginning. This is a new moon. Imagining and believing. Jupiter in Cancer, exalted, expanding that. When you believe everything is possible, the vibration of love exists. And in this vibration, everything is possible. When you have dreams, when something is calling you from the deepest depths of your soul, know that it is your soul gifting you with seeds for you to plant and grow in your life. And it can grow exponentially with Jupiter in Cancer. So, online new moon ceremony, Wednesday 25th, 8 till 9:30 p.m. UK time. You can sign up for that at kellyjones.me. That's KELLIE.me. Link to that will be in the show notes. Please like, subscribe, and share. Help me grow my channel so that we can get this out to more people. Let's use this Jupiter energy to expand good messages, the truth of things being shared with more of the world, because we really need it right now, don't we? Summer solstice blessings. Enjoy and take opportunity on this luckiest day of the year. And I'll see you all very soon.